So it is pretty much very important to remember these guidelines so that when you access, especially social medias, you know what to do inside the internet. Since the internet is already pretty much a part of our daily lives, knowing what to do inside the internet is also a very important information that we all have to deal now. Okay. So we are now all living in the information age. So what is information age once again? It is also known as the computer age, digital age, silicon age, or the new media age. We are all living in historical period that began in the mid 20th century. Okay. So before, if people stack envelopes and uh, folders in their offices, now we can all stack our information inside the internet. So we don't need too much papers in our lifetime now. So before stacking information is all about papers, when the information age came, we are now able to stack information inside emails, Google Drive, social media, and etc. So we are all living in the information age now. So even so, it is important that we know how to secure our information. So the information that we usually share were our full names, usernames, passwords, financial information, phone number, and etc. So I'm going to teach you how to protect yourself and your information inside the internet. Okay. So when I say most commonly shared information, it doesn't mean that you share this to other people. So the most commonly shared information when I said it was that we usually place this information inside the internet. So the first one is our full name. So usually we place these full names when accessing social media sites. So we usually share our full names inside social media sites. So in my so what's the risk? Of course, when you place your full names inside the internet, there's a risk of being a victim of identity theft. So it is important not to give your full names inside the internet so you could hide other information about you inside the internet. So, and also, just like in the real world, you should always be careful of whom you tell your name to. Okay. And also, you should never give your full names in apps and sites where they are not actually required. Okay. So the next one is our usernames. In the internet, our usernames is as good as our actual names. So with usernames, they could search you immediately using usernames. And it is important that only those who trust you or whom you trust knows your usernames. Okay. Third most commonly shared information is our password. So password is very sensitive. In my I can advise you that if you're going to create a password, you should have several passwords to every other site so that uh, your accounts are very much secured, since passwords are usually what hackers wanted to know. So passwords is our way to access our social media sites and other uh, virtual worlds inside the internet. So if your password isn't strong enough, it can easily be hacked. And also, if you forget your password, there's a button called forget password inside those social media sites. Your passwords should be strong enough so that hackers can easily know what you're actually accessing. So, what can you do? Do not share your password to anyone. Make sure that only you knows your password. Second, it is pretty much important that you memorize your passwords. If you can't memorize your passwords, in my opinion, you could write it down, but you must make sure that those passwords are only accessible to you and no one will be able to find that information. Of course, it is pretty much important that you know yourself and you remember rather than writing it down. And for me, the most important password that you must remember are your passwords on your email. So those, since when we access forget password, for example, Facebook, they usually go down and uh, give you a chance to get back to your account to change your password through your email. So it is important that you remember your email accounts and their passwords. Fourth, third, do not use obvious passwords like important dates or names of you or your loved ones. For example, you must not share passwords like your birthday. Do not use your birthdays as a password. You should also not use your real names or nicknames as a password than just placing uh, numbers. If you use nicknames as a password, you must make sure that you do this way. Use combinations like uppercase letters, lowercase letters, numbers, and special characters so that other people will not be able to immediately guess
Immediate
your own password.
password. No?
So passwords are very sensitive inside the internet, especially when accessing our social media sites or our self-publishing sites. Okay? So the next thing that is most commonly shared information are our birth dates. So when accessing Facebook, we are asked about our birth dates, right? So some people actually try to get past this. Kids usually try to lie about birth dates. Even so, it must not be
Kids
done. We
would
must not we must never allow those kids to access Facebook yet, since Facebook is pretty much an uh, pre-adult and adult site already. And what's the risk? The birth dates, along with our personal details, can be used to pass security checks, and hack our personal accounts. And what can you do? Just like what I said, we must observe the age restrictions of online contents. Okay. Next, commonly shared information are our home addresses and locations. So, with home address and locations, the risk was that if you share this home address in your account, people can immediately know where you are. Also, my advice with you was that actually I always advise this to all my classes was that you must not update where you are immediately. For example, you took a picture while you're having a vacation with your family far away from your home. So your home is pretty much locked already. Even so, there are thieves, actually pretty much professional thieves that could even get inside your house even though it's locked. And if you actually tell them and you immediately tell them that you're not at home and they see that you're actually far away, they could immediately go to your home and open your home. So since they know that your home is empty, so it is pretty much important for me as a teacher that I wanted to advise you that it is also for me a great advice that you just share where you were after that vacation has already passed. So you're already at home, and that's when you're going to tell your colleagues, friends, relatives that, for example, you went to uh, Italy, and or maybe you went to uh, CCP or a simple SM malls. So that's an advice from me, since if you share your home address or your location, they could easily also know where you are. So that's the risk. So, and also I already told you what you can do. And if your location is actually required, you can hide your address and current location. Even so, of course, there are online shops like Shopee and Lazada asking for our locations. So my next advice would be that uh, make sure that you only share your home address to trusted sites. You must not share this to other people who seem to be not safe. Okay. Next commonly shared information is our phone number. So Facebook usually asks for our phone numbers. And phone numbers are pretty much sensitive uh, to our identity, of course. So we must be very careful of who we share our phone numbers. We must make sure that those people can be trusted. For example, me, I'm trying to tell you my phone number because I trust you, because you are my student. So I hope that you take care of my phone number as well. And phone numbers are very sensitive. Anyway, there are only few apps and websites that insist on getting your phone number. Okay. And also, you must never submit your phone number to sites that looks dangerous, since phone numbers could lead you to be scammed by people. And also, of course, in our lifetime today, there are scammers who suddenly know your uh, phone number even though you didn't give them. My advice would that be you must never contact them, just delete them immediately. If you see that your number was suddenly contacted by a person whom you don't know. Internet or just a text message, you must make sure that your phone number is safe. And of course, our phone numbers are usually used now like uh, an ATM. For example, apps like GCash. So with GCash, of course, we give our phone numbers to Globe. So we must make sure that our GCash is safe since GCash uses our phone numbers. So that's advice for you. I'm going to expand that more later. The next commonly shared information is our email address. So email address is one of the most used and abused method of communication in the internet. So before email addresses is present, of course, uh, we do snail mail. So snail mails are actually people who go to your homes and then they give you letters. So those are snail mails. With email addresses, it is almost the same as our real addresses, and it is a direct link to us. So what can you do? You can create multiple email addresses. So with multiple email addresses, you will be able to make sure that your email addresses is safe. For example, you can have a working email and a personal email. There are also a lot of internet frauds such as spamming and phishing. So spamming is actually giving you a lot of emails, and of course, with email addresses, there are a lot of uh, malwares inside it. So we must make sure what we click inside our email addresses. So it is actually more important that we make sure that our email accounts are safe. And also make sure that you delete spam messages since spam messages have a lot of malwares in. Okay, just like with our phone numbers, just like what I said, our phone numbers are usually now used for financial information, just like GCash, Paymaya, and etc. We must make sure that our financial information is safe. We must never carelessly give out our credit card numbers, debit card numbers, ATM numbers to anyone, especially those sites that are dangerous enough. I also wanted to advise you, for me, it is just my opinion, that you must never install loan apps because in my opinion or just my advice to you, there are loan sharks. If you're watching television television news, there are a lot of these loan apps acting as if they're actually legitimate, but most of them are actually legitimate. So that's just my advice to you. And most of these people wanted to give out your financial information. If you actually tell them to get inside or you loaned with them and you were not able to pay them, they would they would keep trying to get back to you. So those are kinds of uh, loan sharks in our lifetime right now. And also, with this financial information, uh, if you carelessly give out your credit card number, debit card number, and ATM carelessly inside the internet, they can easily access your number, and then they would spend your money immediately. So that's the reason why we have to take care of financial information, and the reason why we must be careful of whom we give this financial information. Okay, what can you do? Of course, before giving out your financial information, you must make sure that these sites or apps are legitimate enough. For example, it's all right with me if you share your financial information with big organizations that is actually trusted, even trusted by many people, and advertised by legitimate organizations as well. For example, Amazon online shop, uh, Lazada, Shopee. It's all right to give our financial information there since we're sure that they are not legitimate organizations. Okay, so now let's talk about what are malwares. Of course, when we talk about malwares, these are programs that could harm your computer. So now let's go to the examples of these malwares. Okay, the first is the Trojan horse. Of course, if you know the story of the fall of Troy, you will be able to remember that the Greeks sent a great horse to the Trojans, and when they opened the gate, they allowed that great horse, that image of a great horse inside their gates, since actually the gate of the Trojans is pretty much impenetrable, but then they let this Trojan horse inside their walls, and at night they were pretty much surprised when soldiers attacked them. And that's the reason why the city of Troy was destroyed. So that's actually uh, something we remember about when we talk about Trojan horse. And it is actually what we remember when we talk about this. So a Trojan horse, or simply a Trojan, is a type of malware. Just like what I said, the Trojans hid themselves as harmless. Even so, it is actually a harmful virus. It can damage your computer or system in many different ways. You might be surprised that after you click something inside your email and you, you don't know that it actually contains a Trojan horse, you will be surprised that some of your files are already being deleted, copied, and some of your files are already pretty much getting altered. Okay, so how do they spread? They cannot make copies of themselves. Even so, they actually pose as harmless individuals or harmless programs. Okay. And also, with this Trojan horse, they rely on people to send, copy, and download them. So viruses isn't just inside emails. It can be found anywhere in the internet. Okay, so now let's talk about what is a virus. So a virus is a program designed to interfere with our computer, device, or network. A virus attaches itself, just like a real virus, it attaches itself to a computer and will multiply or make complete copies of themselves. So what can you do? Of course, if there's already a virus inside your computer, you have
Then,
to delete those apps. Or if even after you deleted those files, in my experience, you have no choice but to actually reboot your computer. So a virus is actually a program, can be programmed to do different forms of harm to your system, and it will slow down your device or any gadget that is infected with a virus. So how do they spread? They spread whenever a computer makes contact with another computer. Viruses can be found on networks like LAN, internet, uh, flash drive, and DVD. So it is actually very much important to install antivirus programs. Okay. A worm? A worm is considered as a type of virus. Like a virus, it can make copies of itself in computers that it comes in contact with. And what can you do? Like a virus, a worm can harm your system in different ways, which can range from minor annoyances like hiding your icons or create major damages like destroying your files or causing your computer to shut down on its own. So if your computer had these viruses, my opinion would be to reboot your computer. And the difference between a virus and a worm doesn't need a human intervention. Meanwhile, a virus has to be clicked by a person. Okay. What now is spam? A spam is an unwanted and unsolicited message or email. Spams can also contain these worms or viruses. So we must make sure never to click these spam messages. Okay. Adware. An adware is a type of malware that launches unwanted advertisements in your internet browser. What can you do? Other than being majorly bothersome, adware programs can cause your system to slow down because they initially and automatically remain running in your background. And how do they spread? Adwares are usually included to the apps that you install or programs that you install and to the add-ons on your browsers. So we must be very careful of what we actually add inside our computers, since they may actually contain this malware. It is also important that uh, the sites you go to doesn't contain malware. For example, there are pretty much malware in sites that contain illegal programs or illegal videos. You must make sure that they don't and will not be able to create harm into your computers. Now, how to avoid malware? Install an antivirus program. Do not submit your email address to suspicious looking websites. Just like with phishing, you must never fall for their obvious tricks. You must never allow them to fool you. Don't open spam emails. Do not click suspicious links. Read before installing an app. Do not download pirated contents. And lastly, install an ad blocker. Okay, so now let's go to, I'm going only to give you two examples of online crimes. First is identity theft. Identity theft is all about other people using your personal identification like your name, ID, credit card number without your permission. They will do frauds and other more crimes. For example, they could lie to your friends or relatives about what you actually are. So how to make sure that your friends and relatives know that it wasn't you, you must make sure to report these people immediately and remind them what your real account is. Second is phishing, derived from the word phishing. Phishing is the fraudulent practice of stealing important information from users, such as passwords, PIN codes, and credit card numbers. If you are affected with the phishing, of course, they will be able to get your money. And then, of course, you will already be surprised when your credit card number or your GCash has already been accessed without your permission. So you must make sure not to fall on these scammers. Most of those people who do this phishing are huge organizations. So we must make sure never to fall on their obvious tricks. Please mute. So phishing is not just inside the internet. Phishing can also happen with people who suddenly call you and they will tell you things and lie to you that something might have happened to the people you actually know. So we must make sure never to fall on this crime, on this cyber crime. Okay, so that's all for today. Do you have any more questions about the lesson for today?
Wala na po.